can flex the box back behind the face of the drywall, but not sure how to make it stay that way. Any clever fixes? Were you just in the middle of that, Brian?
Yeah.
Sing it, brother. I feel you.
I've been here.
Don't I know it?
I've been here.
You have been there, huh? Welcome to the Fine Home Building Podcast, our weekly discussion of building, remodeling, and design topics aimed at anybody who cares deeply about the craft and science of working on houses. I'm Justin Fink. I'll be your host. I'm joined by Brian Pontalillo.
Hello.
And Rob Yeagan.
Hello.
Oh my God. On our 100th episode.
We got it.
This is our 100th episode. You guys got it right.
Nailed it.
If we should just shut it down, Jeff. That's it.
It's been a nice run, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
It's all we got.
We're out.
It's all we got.
It took Rob and Brian 100 episodes to be able to say, how's it going?
Yeah.
At the right
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I want you guys to know that yesterday should have been the recording for our 100th episode, but it snowed. And
In New England in the winter.
there was some confusion about
Correct.
that. And poor Jeff came in and sat here by himself for an hour.
Jeff's not happy today.
Jeff is not happy with us today. So he
Are
might.
you going to apologize on air to Jeff?
This is our formal apology to Jeff
Okay.
for having him come in when he didn't have to come in.
He might include some of what we were saying before we went live in the show to get back at us.
Brian trying to spell things. So anyway, 100th episode. This is kind of a milestone for us. 2 years of doing this
Holy smokes.
every week. To celebrate this, we're going to do a little bit of a giveaway. So if anybody's interested in, let's see what we have to offer here, Rob. We have a Hitachi worm drive saw. We have a Makita narrow crown pneumatic stapler. We have a Makita 23 gauge pin nailer, and we have a Martinez titanium handled hammer with a second face. So you have it as either a milled face or a smooth face. That hammer, that is almost like, I think it's about $300, just shy of $300. That package alone, just that hammer.
Sounds about right.
And each of those other tools is range from 100 and up. So hop on over to finehomebuilding.com/podcast, and Mike will put a link there where you can enter to win those. And in a couple of weeks, we will announce those winners.
Who else makes titanium hammers besides Martinez and
Stiletto.
Does anyone else have them?
I don't know the
Is
answer to
everything
that.
else steel? And
But Mark Martinez was the creator of it for Stiletto. And then Stiletto got bought. He left Stiletto, blah, 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 blah. So now he has his own hammer company. So if you love Stiletto hammers, you're going to love these. They're awesome. Mark's an awesome guy.
Mark once, when he was still at Stiletto, I was at a show and I met him and he slipped me a little Stiletto pry bar, titanium pry bar that it was like this mid-sized pry bar, not quite a little cat's paw, not quite a bigger pry bar, and I loved that thing.
Yeah.
And had it for years and used it regularly for everything. It was delicate enough to like pry off some trim, and it was beefy enough to like pry out a stud.
Yeah.
And I can't find it. So Mark, if you're listening, and if Martinez has any pry bars like that,
Hook it up.
you know where I am. You know where to find me.
At finehomebuilding.com/podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you can go there. You can sign up for your chance to win those things. It's kind of our little thanks to everybody out in the audience who's been listening for a long time. It obviously costs nothing to enter to win these things. So we hope that you take advantage of that. It's also a good reminder too to just ask people again if they can. If you like the show, we do this all for free. We do it every week. If you could take the time to send us some questions that you'd like answered or topics you want to talk about, or hop onto iTunes and give us a review, because that's really how we convince the suits around here that this show is worth doing. Otherwise, they might shut us down and make us do something else. So hop on over, show your love, keep it going.
So funny, the suits.
suits.
We are so not suit people.
And I also wanted to mention, before we get into the questions and things, that we also have a little contest in the works on the site, the Reader's Gallery, or Reader's Choice, for the houses issue.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to just give a quick synopsis of what that is, Brian?
Yeah, so each year we collect, we do a call for entries and we collect submissions for the Houses Awards, our annual Houses Awards, in 6 different categories, and we have them submitted online. There's, and you can do this at any time during the year. You can submit houses for these awards online, or any other project that you'd like to get in Fine Home Building, you can submit on our website.
It's finehomebuilding.com/houses, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. And it's a pretty simple process. You upload some info. We ask some questions. You type in your answers. You upload floor plans and photos, and that it's as easy as that. So after we pick the 6 winners for the awards, then we take the sort of 10 runners up. And without categories, and we turn that into a Reader's Choice Award. So right now, those 10 projects are live on our site. You can go on and you can vote for the project that you like best. And in the issue, we'll publish the top 3 winners.
Yeah.
So it's a nice way to get more, because we get more great projects than we can publish. We only have 6 awards, and we get a whole bunch of excellent stuff. So it's a way for us to get more of those projects into the magazine and in front of the audience.
Our best energy smart home for the issue coming up this year. The award for that, it goes to a guy, Eric Woodhouse, who is a podcast listener.
That's right.
Really?
That's what you
Shout out
said.
to him.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thanks
Yeah.
for a great project, Eric.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So before the mics,
Justin just gave away the winner before the issue was
didn't.
out, but
You just scooped the issue. Holy smokes.
I didn't tell you what the
that's
house
okay.
was.
That's true. That's
All
true.
right, all right.
Sure, Eric has lots of
Little
projects.
mystery. Before the mics heated up, you guys were chatting about bathroom lighting.
Oh yeah, so I've got an electrician coming next week to do some electrical work on my remodel. And I don't have like a big formal like electrical plan.
Yeah.
But I was just curious because I know that Brian had done some remodeling work on his bathroom. Similar. It's pretty small, right? How big is your bathroom?
No, I don't even know. It's kind of a jogged thing, but it's maybe
100 square feet.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was just curious what his lighting plan was to ensure that he had enough light in there. I mean, typically around the vanity, it's
Yeah.
kind of standard. But what else did you do?
The only thing I changed actually, when I started the remodel, I had a light, 2 lights, 2 sconces to the side of the mirror,
Yep.
and I had a fan with integral light, sort of center in the bathroom. So
Right.
vent
That's
fan
like
with
standard
the
issue,
light,
right?
which is
Yeah.
standard. And the only thing I changed was that and that was fine. The fan light kind of gave this ambient lighting for the whole room. There was plenty for a shower and whatnot. It was before we had a shower curtain. It was a little dark in the shower. Now we have glass and it's a little more bright in there. So you could consider that if you're going to have a shower curtain or glass. That it might be
Yep.
that light night might not get into your shower.
Yep.
And then the only thing I changed over the vanity, I didn't really like the sconces. They shined upward. And they didn't
weird.
really give you quite enough light, so I put in sort of a 3 lamp fixture
Right above it.
over the mirror,
Yeah.
and so it casts down onto the mirror, and that's much better.
And I mean, so like, do they want balanced light on either side of that vanity typically? Is that why people go with sconces, or is it cool to just have a single light above?
I guess so. I went with this fixture because it has 3 bulbs spread out, so you have 3 different
Yeah.
lamps, and so it gives you this broad light.
Even.
I wouldn't go with 1 light above.
Right.
I'd go with some sort of. They have bars and they have
Yeah.
other things that spread the light above there, but it's great. It
Yeah.
works. It's
I
excellent.
think that's what I'm doing, just because I don't have that much room on either side of the mirror.
Yeah.
And then
Does your wife use that for like her makeup and things like that? Like, is that where she gets ready in the
not
morning?
a ton. She
Okay.
might.
Because that makes I
That
found
makes a
I found
difference.
in bathroom remodels that's where like it kind of like you need to decide what you're gonna. It's a weird thing to say, but you need to decide what you're gonna do in the bathroom
Right.
because it's like those lights shining up at the ceiling and down at the floor are terrible for lighting up your face
Right.
when you're getting ready in the morning, but they look really awesome. So it's like functional versus aesthetic.
Yeah.
That's why
Will you
that
have
all
any
those,
natural light?
that's why all those vanities have the lights right above the mirror that points down at your face for good
Right.
reason.
Yep. Yeah, there's a window in there.
Okay. One of the dormers.
Well, the back
the
of the
bathroom's
house.
on the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
mean, it's within a big shed dormer.
Right.
But there's a window in there, and it's small. It's like less than 100 square feet. So
Yeah.
I'm probably going to have just a single fixture above the vanity.
Mm-hmm.
The other issue is that a majority of the bathroom is under a sloped ceiling, and so and it's vaulted essentially for most of the space, and so I'm not going to have kind of like that all-in-one bathroom fan and light fixture kind of canted, you
Yeah.
know. So I was gonna, for ventilation, I was gonna probably do a remote inline fan, where the actual fan is kind of up into the attic, and I've got that intake essentially.
Then it could just be a grill, right? I mean,
Yeah, that is just like a nice little grill.
you can make it whatever you want.
Yeah. But in terms of other light in there, I was like, what am I going to do? What's going to look the best? And I was thinking about just a single recessed light. They sell recessed lights, 4-slope ceilings that would be more or less over the toilet area, which would provide some illumination into the tub as well. And just kind of keep it as simple as possible. I mean, no, it's not ideal. I kind of want that drywall plane intact as much as possible, but I mean, I'm going to have to get light in there as opposed to trying to add another fixture, which is just going to be funky and weird,
I found it looking for lighting for my house was pretty infuriating. Like I just wasn't satisfied with anything, and it's partially due to the style or lack of style at my house. I sort of have a ranch style, and I kept it really very plain ranch style. And the only lighting that I really thought was like that I liked and I thought was well done was more period stuff that wasn't right for my house.
Right.
And sort of the more I don't know, maybe modern or fitting stuff. So I went with almost can lights throughout my whole house.
Oh, really?
Except for a couple fixtures here and
Almost
there.
just eliminated the style conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is overwhelming for sure because I'm going through it trying to figure out, all right, what light fixture is going to work where given given the tight parameters of the space. And I don't want to punch a bunch of holes in the ceiling plane with can lights. I'm going to do it here and there where I have to, but I'm going to opt for wall sconces. And
When you punch those holes through the ceiling plan for the can lights, are you going to do the boxes of rigid foam or whatever around the top side?
That was my plan. Once the drywall was in place, then I was going to scamper up there.
We gotta. And I'm going to look at this too because this reminds me I need to look back at that article, and I think you worked on it, right, Brian? The one about doing the foam boxes on the top of the can lights.
Yeah, but if you're putting in new can lights, why wouldn't you just use airtight IC rated cans?
Because what I've heard is that a lot of them are not airtight.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Really?
Like they're just not.
And, I mean, I guess you could go up there, and like the big thing is just like the air gap between the drywall and the fixture itself, which I guess you could go up there and caulk and stuff.
Well, if you have an IC rated can, you can use some spray foam around the bottom of the fixture.
Well, that's what I wanted to look at was whatever this article was, and Mike can dig it up and put it on the show notes page. It was talked about how much heat builds up in between the can light and whatever. If you did like a foam box around it, there's a certain danger zone there.
Right. That article is good.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to take that approach, you do really need to be aware that there's some cautions there.
Yes.
Like you could be trying to prevent something and creating a hazard.
Yeah, you could be melting wires and that sort of thing.
Because that's a lot of heat coming off those fixtures.
Yeah, I did the airtight can, and then I just did a little foam around the edges. I don't know that it's working.
That's not That's not always possible if you don't have attic access, though.
That's true. You have to be able to get up there.
Yeah.
Right. Which I won't in that cathedral ceiling.
Right.
Which is going to be a little bit of a penalty, but.
Also, you were talking about going through wall with your vent fan at one point, right?
Yeah,
which is also potentially a penalty.
Yeah, and I read some reviews. What was it called? Panasonic Whisper Wall, I think. And so it's a through wall fan.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's not as powerful as I think a conventional bathroom fan. I think it's like 70 CFM or something like that. But I thought it would be a viable solution here because it's simple. You just punch it right through the wall. You don't have to run a remote fan with a bunch of duct work that you have to air seal and run to a gable wall and fuss with. But I did read some reviews where people are like, the damper's just not up to snuff, and you could just feel cold air just screaming through that thing.
Yeah, and you have no insulation in that whole spot. I mean, it's like a metal conductor working from the inside of the outside.
So it didn't. I thought it would be a good solution, and maybe it is in certain applications, but I'm just gonna go with the alternative route.
So here's an interesting thing about small baths and ventilation, and this is just anecdotal, and I'd love to hear an expert's thoughts on this, but it seems to me, right?
We got Jeff.
Typically, you size the ventilation fan per the size of the room.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that a small bath should have a big fan because they fill up so quickly with steamy air when you're showering. And it just, so quickly the walls are getting wet, the ceiling's getting wet, as opposed to a big room that is bigger and there's actually more space for that. Not that you don't need a big fan in a big room, but I feel like you still need a big fan, a powerful fan in a small bath.
Yeah.
I had I don't know what the CFM rating was, but I had a less powerful bath fan, and I was having that was working perfectly fine, but I was having moisture issues in my old bath, and so I bought the biggest, baddest bath fan I could when I remodeled, and I put it in, and now it's great. I mean, you get out of the shower and all the moisture is gone.
And you're dry.
Yeah, you're dry. It's like it's all out of the room.
Were you getting mold and mildew and stuff?
I was getting mildew spots on the drywall, and I mean maybe there were some problems before I moved into the house, and it was had already started. You don't know, right? And someone painted over it or whatever. Yeah. But
well, here's a couple of things to know there. The old kind of we're talking about like the suction of the fan.
Yeah.
The old kind of building inspector test was to take one square of toilet paper, hold it up, place it against the grill of the fan, and if it can support the weight of that toilet paper without it falling on the floor, then it's pulling enough air. Yeah, it kind of seated the pants. But and if it drops the piece of toilet paper, then it tells you either your duct run is too long and complicated and needs to be addressed. You need a more powerful fan to overcome the fact that you're losing so much power by the long and complicated, funky duct setup. Or it could mean that you have something blocking the vent, like a bird's nest or whatever, a crushed pipe, who knows, disconnected pipe maybe. So the reason why I'm saying this is you can upsize the fan more than you think you need sometimes to overcome problems down the line. But in terms of the size of the bathroom, it's an interesting question, and I actually have never thought of it. Maybe it's something we could ask somebody like Mike Maines.
I'd love to know the answer.
Yeah.
It just seems like every time I'm in a small bath
I think
and I take a hot
physics will
shower,
give a solid answer, but
yeah.
But I mean, I think isn't it typically just kind of? I think probably people mostly go by the specs of the fan, right?
you don't even need a fan. You just need to have a window.
You need to have a window, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think like
the bar's pretty low.
I think they typically give you some kind of parameters as like this fan is suitable for this amount of square feet.
Yeah.
Whether that's
Buy a big one.
One of the nice
Buy a bigger
benefits of what you're planning is that, and I've done this with range hoods, but never the bath fan, is having that. Oh wait, no, I've done it with a bath fan too. When you're venting like multiple bathrooms, sometimes the ducts will meet up in the attic, and then they'll go out, and that little inline fan is another way you can have one penetration with multiple bathrooms. But one of the benefits of it is that it removes the fan from the actual bathroom area, so it's quieter.
You don't hear it,
So you can have like a real powerful fan, without having the penalty of the jet engine noise running.
I was amazed though how quiet mine actually is because I did have the jet engine
they've
before.
Gotten awesome.
They've gotten pretty good.
Mine is just a light with a fan around it in the shower stall, so it just looks like a recessed light
In the stall?
Yeah.
And it's rated for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was curious
That's
about
nice.
placement, whether I should put that that grill essentially like right above the moisture source, like right in the shower or not.
Well, I have low ceilings.
Yep.
And so that light, like I said, that light outside of the shower stall, when I used a shower curtain, it was pretty dark in our shower.
Yeah.
Now that we have glass, it's fine, but the lamp isn't high enough above the shower curtain to really get light in there, So
that's why I went with the one above the
Yeah,
shower
that's-
stall.
that's
'Cause it was
great,
like looks like showering in a closet.
You
Yeah.
guys were getting lost in there.
Yeah, like you go in and somebody else is already in there, and they couldn't find their way out. Yeah, losing people left and right. Well, all right. You guys want to call it a show?
I think so. Yeah. Hit that giveaway. Thanks for listening.
We have one about flexing 4-gang electrical box. Adam writes, "Gents, I have a problem with my recent bathroom remodel. I should have figured out a better way to tie that in. Damn it.
Join the club.
I put in a 4-gang electrical box, but didn't notice until after drywall that the far edge of the box is sticking out past the drywall a bit. It's really noticeable when I put the cover plate on because it creates a heavy shadow line. I can flex the box back behind the face of the drywall, but not sure how to make it stay that way. Any clever fixes?" Were you just in the middle of that, Brian?
yeah.
Sing it, brother. I feel you.
I've been here.
Don't I know it?
I've been here.
You have been there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what we're talking about, a 4-gang electrical box is just like a blue electrical box, but instead of a single switch or a double switch, it accommodates 4. And the farther out you go with the number of these things, it still only has one point of contact to the stud face or stud edge, so it can sometimes be harder to
keep
it
in line,
in
keep it
plane with the
plain.
wall.
Yeah.
Especially if that stud is a little twisty.
Yep.
My solution for this, and I'm not confident this is technically allowable by code.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to tell you.
He shaves the box
I don't think.
back.
I don't
No.
think. You can. Oh, okay.
No, I shut off all the power.
Uh-huh.
Remove the fixtures from the box, and I don't mean like disconnect them. I just mean unscrew them so you can pull them out and have access to the box, and then drive a screw through the back corner of the box into the stud.
Pull it in.
And you can kind of feather that in and out until you have pulled the box to be in line with the face of the drywall. And then if it's still like maybe it's in line but it's just flexy, like it's just kind of deflecting when you push on it, I would not be afraid to then put some kind of a sealant at the perimeter of the box to drywall connection. When in doubt, you know me, I love my PL Premium. Oh, jeez. Little polyurethane construction adhesive. Let that harden up for 24 hours. It ain't going anywhere.
Where's that going to go?
Where's that going to go? You'll never get a call back.
I do wonder if you're allowed to put that screw in the back of the box, though.
I'm sure you're not.
I'm sure you're not, but I also...
Because that's like considered modifying something that's code approved.
But listen.
Whoa.
Listen.
So here's...
You put a dab of caulk on the screw head, too, so it's no longer conductive. How about that?
No longer conductive.
Yeah.
So I
have
this in my house and I have not fixed it. I'm just living with that shadow line.
And what happened? You had like a twisted framing member or something?
I have the same thing in a 3-gang box. And then I actually have one single gang box that I just installed shitty and it's just kind of sticking out. But that's besides the point. But what I thought of, and I've actually used in a couple situations where things were wonky. I've actually used retrofit boxes and put the boxes in after drywall was up instead of using a new work box. And what I thought of was, he can take the plate off, unscrew the. He's probably got switches if it's 4-gang. Take the switches off. Mm-hmm. Pull the. Actually, doesn't even have to necessarily pull the wires yet. Just clip the nails that are holding that thing in. Take it out. Carefully pull the cable out of the back, and then reinstall an old work box that grips the drywall.
Right.
So now you're working with something that's going to put itself in plane with the drywall. And
so we should have made it clear that the solutions that we're leaning towards right now are the ones that don't require any drywall work.
That's right.
So we should have said that up front.
And to be honest, like this is gonna take you what, if you work nice and carefully, an hour.
Yeah,
it's an hour-long fix.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna suck.
I'm gonna be done in 2 minutes.
You're gonna be done in 2 minutes. This is gonna take an hour.
Yours will meet code though.
Mine will meet code.
Probably won't. Somehow.
I'd love to know what. I mean, this has got to be pretty.
No one's ever met electrical
all
code.
the houses being built, this has got to be a pretty common thing that electrical boxes get out of whack a little bit.
Well,
and I'm wondering what an electrician would do.
Well, I mean,
probably put a screw in the back.
I don't want to know what the builder would do or the carpenter would do.
Yeah. What the electrician would do.
Or the drywall. I don't know what the electrician would do.
Well, so if it's a box that nails onto the wide face of the stud, I guess are we still calling that the face? It's not the edge, but it's the face of the stud, right?
Yeah, where the drywall attaches.
No, that's the edge.
The side of the stud.
Side of the stud. Okay. Because there's different boxes.
The side.
Some screw right onto that 1.5-inch dimension, the front edge, and some use toenails into the side of the stud. You never seen the ones that go onto the front?
I've just used the ones that nail in.
The adjustable ones.
Sometimes they're adjustable. Sometimes it just has like a tab with screw holes in it.
Okay.
If it's the one that attaches to the side of the stud, you may be able to, without damaging the drywall too much, get a flat bar in between the stud and the electrical box and just kind of wiggle it a little bit. Like you
to
want
loosen those nails a bit?
So you would get it in there and then you would pry it you would pull towards the box and it would kind of flex that far edge of the box back in playing with the drywall, and then you might be able to stick a little shim in there to keep it in that position.
It's worth trying.
And then back it up with PL Premium.
It's worth trying. If it doesn't work, you still got to do something.
Yeah, I would say I would focus on wedges. Wedges, PL Premium,
come-alongs.
Come on.
Yeah. Simple machines. All right.
Adam, let us know what you do. Let us know how you fix it.
Nah, we don't care. Let's. Jeff, we got a video question.
Play that thing.
Help with roof venting.
Here we go. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, my name is Nate Crawford and I live in the awesome state of Georgia where we're not used to seeing snow, and so I had the day off and I wanted to make a video and send it to you guys. to hopefully get my question answered on your podcast. My wife and I recently purchased a home which was built in 1915, which then has a detached 2-car garage. We're going to turn the upper part of the garage into a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment to move into while we renovate the home portion. But I'm curious about venting. Have started the process of framing, but on our soffits here we have no venting. The interior of the apartment is going to have a vaulted ceiling, and our framing members are 1 or 2x6s. So I'm curious, should we try to vent the soffits and then vent it up to the roof and do a ridge vent, or should we just fill it in with like a spray and foam and not do venting? You guys are always talking about that, and you make it about as clear as mud for a new guy like me that's not typically in construction. So I'd love to know your thoughts on what to do for the 2x6 roof.
So, Rob always rolls his eyes when we do another roof venting question, but I thought because the guy said that we make it clear as mud, I feel compelled that we have to answer this question.
We got to keep talking about roof venting.
Let's do it.
Yeah, clearly we're not doing a good enough job.
Let's do
And
it.
it needs to be in every episode more than once.
I wish I knew how much insulation they needed
I
in
know.
Georgia.
I think it's going to be more than 5.5 inches.
Let's not make it mud, guys.
Okay.
Why do we need to vent a roof? In cold climates, it's to flush the underside of the roof with cold air to prevent ice dams. In warm climates, it's to flush the underside of the roof with fresh, cooler outside air to keep it from overheating. In both cases, you can have problems with your roof surface. You can have problems with heat loss or energy loss inside the house. They also will pick up some incidental moisture that forms in those vent cavities and in your attic and vent it out. It's not the primary purpose, despite what people say, but it does do some of that. So that is why you're venting a roof.
And if you care about this, you may check with your roof shingle manufacturer. They may actually require it.
Yes.
Some roof shingle manufacturers require it for the warranty.
Yes.
So if you want the warranty to be honored, you may have to check. You may want to check the warranty and see if roof venting is required.
Right. And so that is a vented assembly.
Yes.
A ventless assembly, usually called or sometimes called a hot roof,
Yes.
is when you have insulation pushed right up against the roof deck with no ventilation,
Or above the roof deck.
above the roof deck.
Yep.
You need to have a certain amount of impermeable insulation. This is where it gets muddy because it's just not
Crystal clear.
It's not crystal clear.
Well,
you need to have at least R20 of air impermeable
I
insulation.
believe so. Depending upon your climate, I think. It's dictated by your climate.
But that is sometimes interpreted to be, well, my insulation doesn't have to be air impermeable, which means my insulation doesn't have to stop the flow of air, as long as I have an air barrier that stops the flow of air. And that's where it gets a little muddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the risk with an unvented assembly is that you need to control the condensing surface.
Yes.
And so if you have like an unvented roof assembly, but you've got all these air gaps and you're getting moist air hitting that cold sheathing, then it could condense and potentially cause some mold and rot issues. Where in a vented assembly, it's a little safety factor where that air is flushing the cavity and drying it out, and it just allows drying.
So despite the fact that he had snow on the ground in Georgia, your vapor drive most of the year in Georgia is going to be inward.
Right.
You're going to be so what if you're cooling your interior, what you would need to do with an unvented assembly is make sure that you are not cooling your sheathing so that there's or anything in the roof assembly so that there's a cold surface for that inward vapor drive to condense on.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a vented assembly works always.
Yes.
In every climate. You can have the same setup in every climate, and it works all over the place, everywhere from the Congo to the Sahara Desert.
Yeah, I think that's like always like just the go-to, right?
Yes.
Unless you have conditions that force you to consider something else, like rafter depth, and like now you're toggling between, all right, do I even have enough space for the insulation that I need in my climate zone? You know, and that, I don't know.
And he's got that issue.
He's got that issue. He's got these 2x6 rafters and a vaulted ceiling.
Yes.
If he really wants to vent it, I know best practice. I mean, building scientist calls, they call for lots of venting, like
Yeah.
an inch. I think Joe Stieber's calling for like an inch and a half.
Inch and a half.
That's a lot.
So let's answer this question for him. Would either of you go with an unvented roof if you could easily vent the roof? If the roof venting wasn't tricky, you'd always go with a vented roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
right?
it works every time.
Right, it's a no-brainer.
If it was easily vented, I would vent it. Yes.
You vent it.
Yes.
It looks like he has the ability to cut in soffit vents.
Sure,
He has the ability to cut the roof, the ridge vent.
vented, no problem. So if he can do that stuff, then we're telling him, and he wants us to be clear.
Yeah.
We're telling him go with a vented roof. He's going to need to find a way to have an adequate amount of insulation beneath his venting.
But here's the deal. That's the difference in labor between venting a roof properly in a retrofit situation and picking up the phone and calling a guy to install closed cell spray foam against the roof deck is monumental. Like, there's a lot of work involved with
So
venting
is the
it
difference
right.
in money.
Yes.
In the other direction, though, in the
Maybe.
favor of the guy doing the work.
Maybe. I don't know. If you started figuring
Soffit
out
vents,
labor,
Cobra vent.
It's not.
If what?
Sorry.
it's not.
I don't know. Sorry,
He wasn't listening.
I wasn't listening. I was looking up I was trying to see what the R value was for Georgia.
Oh, and what is it?
I don't know. I thought I saw a number.
Why did you interrupt us?
So what's
But
not?
are you talking about the cost between having a guy come in here and blow a whole bunch of closed cell spray foam, closed cell, I think, in the roof deck?
That's what I said.
Okay. Versus the cost and complexity of installing some vent baffles and some ridge and soffit vent?
doing the work yourself.
Yeah.
This is a cathedral ceiling we're talking about. We're not talking about adding in a little bit of vent and
It's not that big of a deal.
I'm telling you, here's what has to happen. He needs to retrofit soffit vents all along the outside, along the eaves, and that's going to
Yeah.
mean cutting a channel and installing metal or putting in little button caps.
Put a
Things.
vinyl vented
So
soffit.
that's the first 15 minutes.
Be done by noon. Be done by
so
lunchtime.
dismissive. Are you kidding me?
I'm kidding.
That work is not easy. And then you got to have the connection from the soffit into the rafter cavities, which means you have to have a vent of some kind. So you likely have to cut, if it's not already open, if there's blocking there or something, you have to cut through that. Then you need to have a vent at the top of the ridge for it to go out, which means cutting back the shingles, putting down cap shingles, which may or may not match if you're not doing a full roof tear off. And then you have to, because he's going to pack insulation into those cavities, he's got to create an air-sealed, airtight baffle vent chamber from all the way at the eaves all the way up to the ridge. That's a lot of work.
It is.
That is not a small amount of work.
But it's not.
But it's not monumental.
It's not monumental.
And
No, but to do it right, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And that means a lot of care and attention to detail compared to
calling a guy.
calling a guy who sprays it and it's one and done. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know about the cost. It looks like he's already got some bunch of blocking up in those rafter bays
Yeah.
too. For, I don't know, for partition walls or something. So this is a little bit out of order in terms of putting this up. But in theory, on a new house, I would have chosen vent over vent free in terms of safety factor.
Yeah.
Because it just works. And yes, a hot roof can work too, and often does. But is it as safe as a vented roof? I don't think so.
Yeah. More risk.
That's my answer to it.
Don't find the roof leaks. But you didn't really. But we got to give him a. What are we telling him to do?
He'll be shooting for R30.
He's not going to get enough insulation in a 5.5 inch deep rafter bay without doing something extra.
Yeah, especially if he's going to eat up 3/4 of an inch or whatever with
The vent.
With a vent.
I don't want to get into math here. Hold on, I didn't bring my calculator today. So what do you want to do? Dense pack cellulose?
Sure. 3.5.
Dense pack cellulose. He's going to get to 19.25. R value of 19.
What's the closed cell foam?
6-ish,
Yeah.
6.5.
So he can meet code with closed cell. He's not going to meet code with. He can meet. He might be able to do like cellulose or fiberglass. Cellulose and fiberglass are about the same, whether it's bats or blown in or same with mineral wool. They're all around the same general area. So let's just lump those together for the purposes. They're slight differences, but for the purposes of trying to hit a code mark, we'll call them 3.5, 4-ish. Let's round it up to 4. Make math easy, so I don't have to use my calculator because I'm stupid. So 4 times 5, 20, about 22-ish we can get up to with regular fibrous insulation of some kind. You could then add 1.5 inches of polyiso on the underside and then strap it It would be nice and airtight. You could do it that way. You could use 1.5 inches of polyiso as your vent barrier, and then pack down the roof a bit and lose some ceiling height. I guess you're gonna lose ceiling height either way. There's a lot of. That's what I'm saying. Like this is not necessarily an easy. The bond fig's not going to help you.
Yeah, well,
No, it won't.
yeah, it'll thicken your cavity
It'll
so you get
thicken
more
your
insulation.
cavity.
But it's
It'll
not
give you
going
more
to.
depth.
It's not going to add R value though. It's going to add more depth.
Okay, it'll add space so that you could get more R value
All right.
and break the thermal bridge.
and breaking the thermal bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really a decision. It's really whether he wants to do labor or wants to call someone, spend a little bit more money, and get on with other parts of the project.
Well, it might be a headroom thing too.
Yeah.
It might be a headroom thing.
Yeah. I mean, in my upstairs attic, those 2 inches would be that would be a real problem.
Right, but this has sidewalls. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah.
At least what we saw, right? He
Yeah.
walked right in
Yeah.
there and he had sidewalls. And
It's
so
also,
I don't think there's going to be.
I think it's
headroom
also a
thing.
conversation with the building inspector too, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
like, listen, he's got 2x6 rafters. He could only do so much.
Hey, and he may be somewhere rural or somewhere that's not up to date on the code, and he may not need that much insulation.
Well,
and he may decide that's okay for me.
Yeah,
This is
I
gonna
mean,
be an accessory living space
We
and-
could sit around this table all the time
Yeah.
and say, yeah, the most insulation possible. You could do all these assemblies. You could fur it down with rigid foam, all the
Right.
strapping. It's like at the end of the day, depending upon your budget, it's like get as much as you can in there,
Yeah.
and then air seal it and move on.
Yeah, as much as you can.
I don't agree with that, but
Well, I just want to have like a real conversation about it. Like he's not going to hit R30.
why not? I hit R30. You're hitting R30. So why can't he hit R30? Why do you want to lower the bar?
He might be able to hit R30.
Yeah, he can hit R30, and he can hit R30 with one phone call if he calls for closed cell foam.
Nat's never listening to the show again.
Nate, but Nat might not be either. So,
No,
This is Nat.
oh, this is Nat.
No, Brian thought it was Nate. You got,
who doesn't
boy.
know how to spell Nate now?
All right, let's move on.
Man,
Okay,
foam gun. Was that clear? Did we just screw this guy?
I think it was the same as it always is.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
All right, well, make it clear. What do you want to say?
I don't know. I mean, because the truth is, it always depends, and there's
Yeah.
lots of options.
If money is no object and you want to get done quick, go with spray foam and have him spray the underside of the roof deck, close cell spray foam.
All right.
Yes.
Fill those
Fill
up,
it up.
I'll agree with that.
Yes.
and you are done.
If money's no object, perfect.
Yes, it'll be airtight. It will be
Yep.
it will be safe. If you are going to do the work, if you're going to do a vented assembly, you need to make sure that there is more intake than there is exhaust, slightly.
Yes.
You want to look at the net-free ventilation requirements
We'll put that article up
Put that-
on
yep. Put that article
on the
back up.
page.
and
Shows you how to do the calculation and everything.
shows you how to do the calculation, and then you're going to wash the underside of the deck with outside air, and you're going to make sure that that wash of outside air is thoroughly air sealed so that it's separate from the insulation that you're going to then pack in
Right.
the cavities. It needs to be an air barrier between those two things.
Is there anything that you just want to mention about, in your mind, is there any risks to go in the closed cell spray foam route?
Yes.
Because you just said it's like kind of one and done and it's going to work and it's going to be perfect
There's
and you
lots
can
of
walk away.
risks.
Oh, there's a lot of risks.
So can we just at least bring up a couple of them so that he could weigh that in his mind?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, the one risk is that you actually it doesn't work properly. You don't get enough insulation there. You do have a condensing surface and you get condensation that leads to rot.
Yes.
Another risk is that you have roof leaks.
Yes.
That you don't know about because you have impermeable
Yes.
closed cell foam.
Yep.
And by the time you discover them, you have a bigger issue than, if you discover a roof leak right away because it's coming in through your drywall, you fix it, it might be a one nail.
Right.
But if you wait, you might have a whole lot of rotted sheathing.
Yep.
You might have rotted structure. So roof leaks are another big
Yes.
risk. I think those are the two big ones.
Yeah, I've heard that in certain assemblies, maybe certain climates, but gaps could actually form between the framing member and the spray foam as
Right.
things dry, move, expand,
Yeah.
contract, and that could lead to air gaps, which then can allow that moist air or to hit that sheathing and condense. Some people just don't like the idea of having spray foam in their house.
Yeah.
It's some gnarly chemicals and
And if it goes wrong, it can smell bad forever.
Yeah,
And
it
it has
could
to be
be-
mechanically removed.
yeah,
Goes wrong, can burn your house down. We've actually seen that happen.
Yeah.
But let's be clear.
Real
these
pros-
These are bad installs.
Yes.
So that's the thing is like
They're flukes.
because remember I had the issue with my spray foam contractor who I thought it was a kind of a reputable professional outfit and just the guys doing the work are sometimes vastly different than the guys selling the work.
Always different.
And so, if it's done right and correctly, the risk is fairly low, I would say. But there is an opportunity to get those chemical ratios off, and it could lead to off-gassing that could lead to lots and lots of problems. So it's not just like an easy solution.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's a little bit riskier all around.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that for sure.
We got 3 other questions to choose from. Which one of these do you guys want to do?
Let's do all 3.
All right. Foam gun. Chris writes, "Hey fellas, my question is about the spray foam adhesive from Advantech, or rather the gun used for the application. Is it the same gun as the gun for the Great Stuff spray foam? I just bought the one from Great Stuff and it looks pretty similar." So what we're talking about here is Advantech subfloor sheathing. Huber, which makes Advantech subfloor sheathing, now has a spray foam adhesive. A couple other companies are making the same thing.
Yeah.
And you use that to put over the top of your joist before you put the subfloor down, and it replaces having to use caulk applied, caulk gun PL Premium or whatever else.
Yeah, it seems like more and more things are going this way to the foam style.
You get better yield from one can.
They
It's just super easy to work with.
tout some cold weather ratings.
So the question is it the same gun that we've been using for years for sealing around
Cans of Great
windows and
Stuff,
doors and that kind of stuff? And as far as I know, it is the exact same gun. It's all polyurethane foam that you're blowing through it. You could actually use the same gun for everything if you wanted to. You would just probably want to run some gun cleaner through it, which is essentially, it's a bunch of nasty chemicals, but acetone and those kind of maybe toluene or however you say that word. You screw that little can of cleaner onto the top of the foam gun, point it at a garbage can or an empty cardboard box or whatever you're going to toss, pull the trigger and open it wide up, open the spray foam gun to a wide setting, pull the trigger, and you're going to see all sorts of snots coming out the front of the gun until you have clear spray coming out, and then you close it back up again, remove the can, and then load the can.
I usually use that spray too. If I have like spray foam left in the can, I'll spray the top of that because that could kind of purge some a little bit and harden, and then the can is done.
Yeah.
So even when you pop that cleaner off a little bit, there's still a little in the gun, and so that last little bit, I'll just clean off
in the little
foam.
basket at the top of the gun.
Yeah. So I'll clean that off, and I'll clean the little basket on the top of the can too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I could use that.
And there's definitely a right and a wrong way to load and unload these guns. And if you hop on to findhomebuilding.com/show notes, Mike will put up the article that Patrick just recently did. Sorry, findhomebuilding.com/podcast. To look at the show notes, Mike will put up the article, and it has a little step-by-step of the right way to load and unload the gun, because if you're anything like everyone I've ever met, you're doing it wrong, because I was.
And it's frustrating. I mean, when you go to use that gun and it's all jammed up and you essentially have to throw it away, it's a little bit frustrating, and it takes 2 seconds to just maintain it after every use.
The gun that comes with that Advantech spray foam is the best spray foam gun I've ever used.
It's pretty sweet.
It's like the whole thing is Teflon coated or something, and the foam just pops right off.
Wow.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's sweet. They also make a new one that is, what is it, like 2 feet long or something?
Yeah, they have a long wand.
So you can stand
then
up
when you're, for their subfloor adhesive, so you could just walk those joists and just
that's nice.
stand and spray.
Altering cabinets to fit new appliances. Paul writes, recent fan of the show and figured you guys might be able to help me with some advice on fitting new appliances into my existing kitchen. I'm hitting a few snags. First, I can't get my old dishwasher out because the tile floor sticks up across the front of the opening, preventing me from sliding it out. Second, the wall cabinet above my fridge is just about an inch too low to allow me to slide in the new, slightly taller fridge we want to buy. What's the fixes here?
A little deconstruction.
Yeah.
Grind out those tiles.
That dishwasher one is such a pain. It seems to happen in every remodel.
Yeah. Tile up to the put it in and then tile up to it and it's stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be able to reach in there with a wrench and unscrew those feet. Like if you can disconnect the top of the dishwasher and kind of pry it up a little bit to get the weight off the feet, then you can unscrew those feet possibly.
Which is possibly a solution to the fridge as well, depending on how much.
Yeah.
Because they all these appliances have adjustable feet, and so depending on how high they're set right now and how much clearance you need, you might be able to lower them.
So instead of trying to take them off, you're saying maybe take them off. You're saying just maybe lower the appliance and get a little bit of
either one. You could try
flexibility.
either one. That would be the first thing I try before you start deconstructing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Right. There might also be depending on how your cabinets are installed, you might have like a wooden rail across the top of the dishwasher opening that supports the front edge of the countertop. You can cut that out to get you a little more vertical height. And the thing is, you're not going to be able to reuse that piece. I mean, even the finest saw you're going to get is going to leave a curve on both sides that once you try to replace it, it's going to have an obvious gap.
But depending on what the cabinets are and if
it might be feasible.
It might be that if they were paint grade white, for example, you can make another piece and pocket screw it back into place. And
or find out maybe you put the new dishwasher in, you jack up the new dishwasher so it's closer to the underside of the counter, and then put in something at the bottom, like the little little metal plate that covers the bottom. The same sort of fix. I've done the one with the refrigerator. I remember it was a refrigerator or a range hood or something. I think I did with the refrigerator too. Well, I mean, the obvious choice is don't buy a refrigerator that doesn't fit, but often, times change and the refrigerators don't fit, so you need to do something. So I have had pretty good success at removing just the cabinets above the refrigerator in most cases. Because a lot of times, the cabinets are joined to each other and to the wall. So usually the face frames are screwed together, through the edges of the face frame of the cabinet and into the next one. If you don't see any obvious screws, try removing a hinge. Sometimes carpenters would hide those screws behind the hinge. Once you get the cabinet freed, if you're able to do it, unscrew them from the wall, obviously, too. Pull that cabinet out, get some help because they're awkward and heavy. Do I need to start with obviously get everything out of the cabinet? I should have said that.
Yeah, you start there.
If you have crown molding or something that's spanning across the top, you'll have to address that. Either pull it all off and plan to reinstall it, or try and get some wiggle room and slide a oscillating multi-tool with a thin blade up there and just cut the nails between the crown and the top of the cabinet.
And even if it's just caulked to walls or ceiling, make sure you cut that caulk line because
it'll tear.
And you'll be wrestling it out a little bit to begin with. So you want to make it as easy as possible.
And then once you pull that cabinet down, you can lay it on its back so that the opening is facing up. And what you can do then, what I've done in the past, is then take a track saw and lay it across the top of the cabinet, and you can use that to trim the bottom of that face frame to get yourself a little extra height, depending on how it's put together.
So that bottom rail, essentially.
This is all assuming you have face frame cabinets. If they're European style, you could cut the bottom off the cabinet, move it up, and then refasten it.
And cut the doors.
Yep, you have to cut that. And that's not, I've trimmed the doors too, and depending on the profile of the door, it's often not the end of the world.
Right, and it might be less work than making a new cabinet.
Yeah, because you can sometimes take a little bit off the top and bottom and then slide it up, and it looks proportional to the rest, but just a little smaller. And it's not, there are cabinet guys who just do this kind of stuff. Like, I don't have a dishwasher and I want one. Can you make me room by taking out these two base cabinets and then making it look like they were never there? And this is pretty common and underappreciated remodeling surgery that can be done, and you can make it look pretty good and pretty convincing. So, but the track saw, if you don't have a track saw, a shooting board with a fresh blade and a circular saw will work too. But it sounds like a good excuse to just get a track saw because they are awesome for everything, always and forever. All right, we'll do one more.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else about that you wanted to?
No, I think it's
throw in there.
It's like you said, it's taking a look at his situation and figuring out, first try the simple stuff and see if it works before you do anything major.
Replace out the saw.
Yeah, and then depending on how the cabinets are made, there's options. Find the one that's going to be the easiest and the least intrusive, and go slow because you want to reuse this stuff.
Sometimes, go slow.
Go slow.
Yeah.
Make sure you measure twice, cut once, and
know which side is up. Oh my God, you don't want to get burned by that stuff.
If you are cutting stuff with a circular saw and a track saw, use a real nice blade.
Yep.
Because this is finished material, and
you can often, if you're going to use a shooting board with a circ saw, you can take a sharp utility knife and score the cabinet
because you have that line,
or a piece of blue tape down.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that if you can't make any of this stuff work, you can remove that cabinet and just do something else up there. Often it's easier to take a complete departure in design and style in order to make it look purposeful than trying to do sort of a close match that's going to stick out like a sore thumb. So maybe rip out that cabinet and do open shelving or some sort of a contrasting color, something like that. The last one's about splitters and riving knives. John writes, I know riving knives come standard on table saws these days, but my existing contractor saw is still running strong, and I'm wondering if you guys think a splitter is a justifiable alternative, or if I should bite the bullet and do a full saw upgrade. I don't imagine anybody is making a riving knife retrofit solution, are they? So for people who don't know what a riving knife is, if you may have seen them, it's a little shark fin looking metal piece that sticks up right behind the blade on a table saw. Years ago now, they were made required on every new saw.
They come up over the blade a bit, over the backside of the blade a bit.
Right, because what you described could sound just like a splitter, too, for people who haven't seen the difference. But this thing hugs the blade and moves up and down with the blade.
Yes. And bevels with the blade.
And bevels with the blade. And I just read this morning that this is hands down, and I kind of knew this, but the article that I read about it was so sure that it was sort of eye-opening. Hands down, the most important thing you can do to make your table saw safe.
Yes.
And it went so far as to say a properly used, if your techniques are proper and you have a riving knife, you eliminate nearly 100% of kickback.
Yeah. So it's not going to stop you from putting your hand into the blade.
Of course.
But it will.
But kickback is the second
pretty
most
much eliminate
common
kickback.
thing.
So explain what kickback is and how this device prevents it.
So kickback is when the blade comes up, making its cuts. The blade comes up in a way that it catches outside of the kerf where the board's already been cut. And now if that makes sense, and now it throws the piece back at you.
Yeah, as you're pushing the material through the blade, the material on the far side of the blade catches the back side of that blade.
Material on the far side of it. Yes.
Should I step in here?
Yes. The blade catches outside of the kerf on the back of the cut. So the blade's supposed to come up through the kerf, but
we're doing hand motions. We're off
instead
the
it comes
rails.
up outside the kerf, catches the piece, and throws it back at you.
As you're pushing a board through the saw, if it touches the side of the blade, the teeth and the back side of the blade, it will catch the wood there, lift up the wood, and throw it.
Yeah.
So this will happen if you're cutting the center of a board, and often the internal tensions of the wood will cause the two halves to close back up and pinch the blade, and then the blade will throw it. It'll happen if you're pushing the board through, and then it happens to, you don't have even pressure on the fence, and it pivots a little bit and hits the backside of the blade and throws it.
And it'll happen if your blade and your fence are not aligned.
Correct.
Yeah.
So a riving knife solves all of those problems by riving knife is the exact width of the blade, so that if the wood pinches or pivots or whatever, it can only hit the riving knife behind the blade instead of ever having access to the teeth to throw it at you. A splitter does the same thing as a riving knife, except it doesn't do it as universally in every different kind of cut.
Yes.
It will not raise and lower the same as a riving knife does. The difference between the two is riving knife is attached to the trunnion, the whole saw mechanism, so that when you crank it up and down, it moves. When you bevel it left and right, whichever side it bevels to, it will move with the bevel. And you can, a lot of saws, you can also remove it to do, or drop it completely below the table to do like a buried cut or like a plunge cut if you wanted to do that. A splitter attaches to the throat plate of the saw. So it only works when you're doing a 90-degree cut. So you're only getting protection some of the time. Mm-hmm. And that's only if you remember to put it on.
Right.
And there is nobody that I know.
If you don't take it off.
I mean, for all the reasons of how, all the details of how the riving knife works that I just explained are the reasons why nobody makes one that retrofits, because you would have to manufacture it and mechanically attach it to the saw trunnion. You're not going to do that. So splitter is kind of a. It's
better than nothing.
Better than nothing, but not great.
But it's not great.
And
I think if you
how
really
seriously do you take your safety?
Yeah, if you really want to be safe, then upgrade to a saw that has a riving knife.
Yeah, I mean, these things are so awesome. And I was shocked at one time we wrote a social media post or something about, who's about riving knives, and the number of people that wrote back yep, that's the first thing that I took off the saw and threw in the garbage when I bought it. And you want to be like,
that can't be true.
And you want to be like, what?
They were thinking splitter, I bet. I mean, they
Or
thought
they
their,
were
they thought their
thinking-
splitter was a riving knife. I bet.
Which
or
is
sometimes the guard and the pawls.
yeah,
Yes.
that lead is a splitter. Sometimes it has a riving knife too, but
Oh, okay. But yeah, that thing is.
let's hope they were just confusing what a riving knife was.
Yeah, because why would you? It's not in the way.
It's
It's
the
not-
it's like the single greatest thing on a table saw. It's awesome.
Yeah, because yeah.
So yeah, upgrade your saw, get a new one. A
Be
lot
safe.
of people will disagree about that, and they'll be like, "Whatever, man, I can cut. I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been doing this for 30
Plus,
years."
you get a newer saw that's going to be better.
Yeah,
You know, his old contractor saw may be running strong, but these tools just keep getting better.
yeah.
You know, but at least in terms, people may argue that they're not built as well, but at least in terms of features and
So this is
conveniences.
where this is where it
and-
gets into an interesting moral section. I'm interested to hear what Brian has to say about this. So you've determined that your old saw is not safe, and you want a new one that's safer.
Yeah.
But the old one still runs, and it runs great. So do you sell it?
Or you melt it down so nobody could ever use it and get hurt on it.
down,
What do you do, Brian?
Make a new saw with a riving knife from that material.
I went through this because I sold my old contractor saw when I upgraded to one that had a riving knife, and I had this moment of I'm selling this to a guy who's just getting into woodworking and carpentry, and he's essentially happy to be buying a saw that isn't as safe as it could be.
Did you tell him that it wasn't as safe as it could be?
I don't remember the conversation; it was years ago.
You
but,
wanted to close the deal.
but I remember feeling weird about it.
Yeah,
Good point.
that's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know. If I definitely don't think I would feel good about selling it to someone who didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, everybody thinks they know that.
That's true.
Nobody's safer than I am.
Right.
Never had a call back. I mean, think about like the best saw you can buy, and then think about what a hospital bill would be if you had a cut finger, and just do the math. It's pretty easy.
And think about what it not even might. I mean, you lose a finger.
Well, yeah. How much?
How much is that worth?
Is it your living do you make your living at it? Can you afford the downtime associated with it and the hospital bills? And even if it's not your living, do you want to still be able to do it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to not be able to still do it?
Yeah, kickback could be pretty catastrophic.
Yeah.
It's not a cut on your finger.
And it's
It
often
is.
and it's sometimes kickback that leads people and that leads people to send their finger into the
Well, right. That's
Oh, yeah,
the
amongst
danger.
the
other
blade.
things.
It's not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
It's the beginning symptom that causes a whole
right.
lot of hurt.
A whole lot of hurt. Yeah.
Anyway, that's it. That's all we got for this week. Findhomebuilding.com/podcast. Get over there. Do the survey. Come on now. Not survey. Sign up for the sweepstakes. You get some free tools. Makita nailers, Hitachi worm drive saw, Martinez hammer. Come on, people. And remember, we only get to do the show if you all like it. So help us reassure those suits around here that you all find value in our show. Hop onto iTunes, write us a review. Do that, and we promise to keep your feed full of the same home building discussion we've been doing now for 100 episodes.
Pretty powerful.
Pretty
Pretty
powerful.
powerful.
Help make us the best podcast out there. All right, Brian has taken off his headphones to signal the end of the show. So we will see you all next week. This is Justin for Brian and Rob saying, happy building and keep craft alive. 100, Jeff.